Is the killing of rapper Pop Smoke related to the recent killing of a man whose body was found in a barrel in Malibu? TMZ is reporting that 32-year-old aspiring rapper Javonta Murphy's body was found in a 55-gallon plastic drum in the water at Malibu Lagoon State Beach on July 31st. The medical examiner says the cause of death was a gunshot wound to the head.
Good evening, Daniel. Well, at least 5 police sources have confirmed with Fox 13 that the person killed is Anthony Mims, also known as Big Jook. Now, Big Jook is the brother of rapper Yo Gotti.
Vitalis Taylor, also known as CEO TZ, was found shot to death in Orange Mound Wednesday at Spotswood and Bunton. Those who live nearby tell us Taylor was actually shot the night before, discovered lifeless.
I didn't know that Dolph was loved like this. They've literally been in Memphis for 3 straight years since Young Dolph died. I've never seen some shit like this.
Shots fired, a fight taken to the streets, and this chaotic scene, the ending of a shooting that started in Los Angeles, California. Sheriff's deputies pulling out a man who had been shot in an SUV. Savannah rapper Quando Rondo, a passenger in that car, frantic at the sight.
The streets are known for sliding on the ops for their people, so it's no surprise when some of the biggest names in the city go down. Revenge is in motion. Here are 5 rapper K-ings that triggered brutal gang wars. Let's dive in, starting with FBG Duck. On August 4th, 2020, Carlton Weekly, widely known as FBG Duck, was shot and offed in a bold daylight attack that shocked both Chicago and the hip-hop world.
FBG Duck, whose real name was Carlton Weekly, was gunned down on the Gold Coast by a group of masked men as he waited to enter the Dolce & Gabbana store August of 2020.
His emder not only brought anguish to his fans and family, but also ignited a fierce call for vengeance in the streets. For months, the streets buzzed with rumors of retaliation, and both Duck's close associates and other gang-affiliated groups saw his death as something that demanded an answer. While the legal side took longer, the police wrapped up their investigation by January 2024, which led to the conviction of 6 O-Block members, all charged with Duck's emder. They now face life sentences, serving what some might call justice from the legal perspective.
Alleged members of Chicago's O-Block gang have been convicted in the 2020 murder of a rapper known as FBG Duck. The 6 convicted suspects are men between the ages of 24 and 34. All 6 were convicted of conspiracy to commit murder and murder in the aid of racketeering.
But while the police pursued their investigations, the streets had their own form of justice. Duck had been well loved within his community, and his close friend, FBG Young, took to social media soon after, vowing that get back was coming.
Man, this how they go. This come with this. They gonna diss and back anyway. Y'all just on for the get back.
Duck's death hadn't gone unnoticed, and the first individual rumored to be a casualty in the retaliation cycle was Lil Durk's brother, Da Thang. On June 5th, 2021, D Thang was reportedly leaving Club O and heading toward his car when things took a deadly turn. Allegedly, he got into a heated argument with a group of people outside, and in the midst of the chaos, a gun was drawn. D Thang was fatally shot in the head and died instantly.
Full shots were fired and lots of weapons were found at the scene. Dante Banks was killed when he was shot in the head. Banks is the older brother of locally known rapper Lil Durk.
Street rumors suggest that his death may have been retaliation for Duck's emder, stemming from a long-standing beef between Lil Durk and Ruga. Tensions between Lil Durk and Duck's cousin Ruga had also been simmering. Ruga even called out Durk over some lyrics in Durk and Lil Baby's track Still Runnin', claiming that Durk threw subliminal shots at Duck. In the song, Durk raps, "You do it for what? You better not say that you do it for," followed by a gunshot sound, which many fans assumed was a not-so-subtle reference to Duck.
Oh, you do it for what? You better not say that you do.
Ruga wasn't having it and DM'd Durk, posting the exchange on Instagram. While Durk stayed quiet, D Thang stepped into the situation and had some words for Ruga, fueling the beef further. Shortly after their online back and forth, D Thang was shot and offed, leading some to wonder if it was all connected. But things didn't stop there. New evidence from FBG Duck's emder trial brought D Thang's name back into the conversation. According to court documents, TZ, one of the convicted O-Block members, allegedly called D-Thang's phone to gather the crew for the hit on Duck. This information came to light when D-Thang's baby mother testified that the phone number was indeed his, leading to widespread speculation that D-Thang may have been somehow involved in Duck's murder. If that's the case, D-Thang might have become a target for retaliation, paying the price for his possible connection to the K-ing. But D-Thang wasn't the only person to fall victim to this wave of violence following Duck's death. One of the major hits that was allegedly part of the get-back for FBG Duck was on his longtime rival, Edai 600. Edai and Duck had a long-standing beef, and the tension had been brewing for years. Back in 2011, Edai dropped a diss track called Efta Otha Side, where he didn't hold back, taking direct shots at Duck with lines like, "Lil Duck better duck 'fore I dump and leave you slumped in a trunk. Is you drunk? Dissing me, you must be dumb."
Better duck 'fore I dump and leave you slumped in a trunk. Is you drunk? Dissing me, you must be dumb.
Duck, of course, fired back with his own diss track, Edai Is You Serious, where he rapped, "My N told me don't show no sympathy for Edai. I will chop his effing body up and throw it on the E-way. I will emder this Lil N like Cassidy did Freeway."
Told me don't show no sympathy for E-Day. I will chop his body up and throw it on the E-way out.
The beef wasn't just confined to music, though. These two were going at it back and forth online, even a few days before Duck was emdered. In one exchange, Edai even said he was running to get his pole to handle Duck, which looked like it almost escalated into a physical confrontation. But the streets don't forget. And eventually Get Back came knocking on Edai's door. On July 31st, 2021, Edai was caught lacking at the intersection of 72nd Street and South Bennett Avenue. The ops rolled up and lit him up, hitting him multiple times in the chest and stomach. He was rushed to the University of Chicago Hospital, but the injuries were too severe, and he didn't make it. Things didn't stop there, though. The next person to fall in this ongoing cycle of violence was THF-TB, an FBG rival who got caught lacking in one of the most brutal and heartless ways imaginable. In February 2024, TB was walking near Madison and Long on the west side with his girl and 2 kids, holding what looked like a school project. Just a regular day picking his kids up from school. But in the blink of an eye, 2 men ran up, pulling out guns and unleashing a barrage of shots. TB hit the ground, but they kept firing without hesitation, even though one of his kids was standing right there, crying next to his body in shock. His girl and the other child ran for their lives, while the shooters emptied their clips and fled the scene in a white Nissan. Trigger warning, this video is very gruesome. TB was rushed to the hospital, but the damage was done. He didn't survive. It's speculated that this was get back for Duck, especially because TB had been openly dissing Duck and his camp for a while. Then there's the tragic case of young Dolph, whose death set off 3 long years of violent retribution, leaving a trail of bodies all over the city.
Of interest in young Dolph's murder has now also been. Family members confirmed Joshua Taylor was found shot and killed in Orange Mound yesterday afternoon, leaving that community on edge as they worry who might be next.
Memphis comedian Darian D. Money Childs was gunned down in Memphis just days after young Dolph was killed in the city.
Young Dolph was tragically emdered on November 17, 2021, after being shot 22 times. That year, Memphis became one of the most dangerous cities in the country, with homicide rates shooting through the roof. The first person to face the consequences of young Dolph's emder was a stark warning for anyone who had anything to do with his K-ing or even knew the people involved. Comedian Darian D. Money Childs learned this the hard way. He decided to make a joke online about Dolph's death, thinking it would just blow over. But the streets don't forget, and they sure don't forgive. Just a week after he posted that joke, Childs was gunned down. It wasn't long before another high-profile target was taken out. In January 2022, Big Nusky, a rapper signed to Moneybagg Yo and the cousin of Big 30, was shot and K-worded at the New Horizon River Apartments on Kazasa Road. It was around 7 p.m. when the bullets started flying, and when the shooting stopped, Nusky, a 26-year-old man, was left dead. The next person to lose their life was Joshua Taylor, also known as CEO TZ, an OG of Memphis gang called the Trula Mafia, and he was on the police radar for being involved in Dolph's emder. However, TZ's time was running out. On June 14, 2023, police were called to Spotswood Avenue near Bunton Street around 12:56 p.m. about a man down. When they arrived, they found Taylor with gunshot wounds, already dead at the scene. Word is he had actually been shot the night before, but his body was only discovered the next afternoon in a car near a church.
Tellis Taylor, also known as CEO TZ, was found shot to death in Orange Mound Wednesday at Spotswood and Bunton. Those who live nearby tell us Taylor was actually shot the night before, discovered lifeless.
Throughout all this chaos, the main figure in the CMG, collective music group beef with Dolph, Yo Gotti, seemed untouched by the retaliation, but Dolph's crew was determined to make him feel the pain too. They almost doubled down on his family, even targeting his mom. Luckily, she managed to escape, but his brother Big Jook wasn't so fortunate. Prior to his death, he thought it was a good idea to mock Dolph's death, but karma caught up with him real quick.
A lot of you rap up out here, man. Can't do no shows. Ain't save no money. So guess what? I'm gonna come say today.
Show 43-year-old Hernandez Govan, who was just indicted in the rap star slaying, along with Johnson and Cornelia Smith, once lived just a few houses down.
Another rapper who became embroiled in deadly conflict was Lil Jojo, whose story unfolded quite differently but with equally devastating consequences. On August 31st, 2012, Jojo made a choice that would not only lead to his death, but would also escalate one of Chicago's most violent gang wars. Earlier that year, on March 28th, Lil Durk had dropped a track that changed the landscape completely, L's Anthem. In the song, Durk made a pointed diss against Brick Squad, rapping, "Brick Squad I say F 'em, Wooga World with 'em, so it's F 'em." Wooga World was another set of GDs affiliated with Brick Squad, so they got pulled into the beef as well.
Don't trust them. Brick Squad, I say Wooga World with 'em, so
As L's Anthem gained popularity, it quickly became one of the most notorious diss tracks in Chicago. When Jojo and his brother, Swag De Niro, heard it on the radio, they were furious. Their set had just been disrespected on a major platform. He turned to his brother and said, "You heard that, bro? Hell nah, we gonna go crazy, that's it."
He didn't really want to rap until he heard Lil Durk's song, that L's Anthem. Cause we heard it on the radio, like we driving, you know? It was me and him, I remember we driving, boom. He said, Brick Squad, we say f him. Like this on the radio, I'm talking about f on the radio. Man, he went crazy, fool, he ain't like that. He said, you heard that, bro? Hell no, we finna go crazy, that's it. After that, shoot, he was going crazy, bro.
Although Jojo wasn't heavily into rapping at the time, the diss track lit a fire under him, and he decided to respond in kind. Jojo released a remix of Chief Keef's Every Day, which he called BDK 300K. In Chicago's gang scene, 300 is a collective of various Black Disciple BD sets, including prominent figures like Chief Keef, Lil Reese, and Lil Durk. But Jojo wasn't just going after these individual rappers. He was taking aim at the entire BD gang by calling the song BDK, shorthand for Black Disciple K'er. Jojo's lyrics were explicit, calling out, "Ho, these rappers claim 300 but we BDK," a direct challenge to Chief Keef, Lil Durk, and the BDs at large.
These claim 300, but we BDK.
On the track, he also responded directly to Durk, rapping, "Durk say F Brick Squad, so I can't wait to catch him, squeeze this effing 40. Now they got him on a stretcher."
Brick Squad, so I can't wait to catch him. Squeeze this 40, now they got him on.
This wasn't just a diss track. It became a rallying anthem for gangster disciple, GD rappers, and affiliates across Chicago, setting off a wave of violence that rippled through the city. The release of BDK marked a turning point. Jojo's track not only enraged rival rappers, but also their entire neighborhood. He had effectively put a target on his back by openly calling out Chicago's most notorious BD rappers, and this brazen stance led to his tragic fate.
What was the O Block reaction to that song? What was, you living in O Block, what was the initial reaction?
The initial reaction was, he finna die.
Jojo made the fatal mistake of sharing his location publicly just over an hour before he was gunned down. Next up is Pop Smoke. Pop Smoke's untimely death stands as one of the most shocking losses the industry has ever witnessed. While police investigated, it didn't take long for whispers of retaliation to surface. Just weeks after Pop Smoke's death, the body of a man named Javonta Murphy was discovered in an eerily grim scene, stuffed inside a barrel that had washed up at Malibu Lagoon State Beach.
Javonta Murphy's body was found in a 55-gallon plastic drum in the water at Malibu Lagoon State Beach on July 31st. The medical examiner says the cause of death was a gunshot wound to the head.
A park employee had spotted the barrel drifting in the water, and its odd weight sparked enough suspicion that a lifeguard decided to open it. Inside, they found Javonta's body, with Lieutenant Hugo Renaga of the LA County Sheriff's Homicide Department stating that the body hadn't been there long. The gruesome discovery of a body in a barrel was shocking on its own. But the story took a darker turn when the media uncovered Javonta's connection to Jaquan Murphy, one of the 5 men initially arrested in connection with Pop Smoke's murder.
Is the killing of rapper Pop Smoke related to the recent killing of a man whose body was found in a barrel in Malibu? TMZ is reporting that 32-year-old aspiring rapper Javonta Murphy's haters are looking into the possibility that Javonta Murphy was killed in retaliation for Pop Smoke's death.
Jaquan was never actually charged for K-ing Pop and was eventually cleared in the case. But even if the cops don't think he was involved with Pop's death, that doesn't mean his name was cleared in the streets. Pop was affiliated with the 823 Crips, GS9, in the Wu, but most people don't think his death was gang-related. Pop and his friend Mike D were hanging out in LA and posted some pics on Instagram showing off some gifts they received. Unfortunately, those photos also revealed the address of the Airbnb they were staying at.
Hours before the home invasion, fans say Pop Smoke was flaunting stacks of money inside his home on social media.
His address is right there on one of his shopping bags in his house, which is this same location.
That's where the trouble began. In the early hours of February 19, 2020, around 4 a.m., some dudes who had seen the post on IG broke into the house through a second-floor balcony. They went straight to the woman who was with Pop Smoke, put a gun to her head, and then headed for the bathroom where Pop was taking a shower. At first, the plan seemed to be just a robbery. Pop was ready to hand over his Rolex, but things escalated when he decided to fight back. That's when one of the robbers pulled the trigger, shooting Pop Smoke. They grabbed the Rolex, ran off, and disappeared into the night.
A rising rap star shot to death before sunrise in a Hollywood Hills home. Police say 20-year-old Bashar Jackson, who went by Pop Smoke, was gunned down when several suspects broke in to rob him.
For months, police had no solid leads, and many fans thought the murder might have been gang-related since Pop was affiliated with the Crips. But in the end, it turned out to be a robbery gone wrong. Then there's the story of King Von, another rapper whose death echoed throughout the industry and street communities alike. Von lost his life in a confrontation with fellow rapper Quando Rondo. During an altercation outside an Atlanta club, Quando's associate, Lil Tim, reportedly shot Von in what became a devastating turning point in the feud between their camps. Known for his storytelling and raw lyrics, King Von was deeply connected to Lil Durk and his OTF, Only the Family crew, making the loss personal and igniting a tense and emotional aftermath.
On the ground, gon' pick your mans up. Downright we screaming self-defense, he should've never put his hands on. Look at the favorite up there, sister talk too much, no I don't like the tell me roll a.
You walked up to King Von to dap him up. Can you take us through that night?
I don't even remember that night. That was so long ago.
Quando Rondo's reaction only worsened the situation. Following the incident, Quando released a series of diss tracks that targeted Von, leading to even more resentment from Von's fans and close friends. The disses stirred strong emotions, and Quando soon found himself in the crosshairs of this heated rivalry. Although he managed to escape with his life, he suffered an irreparable loss when his cousin Lil Pab was offed in what many believe was a retaliatory attack linked to the tension that erupted following Von's murder. It was August 18th, and Quando Rondo had just landed in LA with his crew, which included his sister and his cousin Lil Pab. Like many rappers in the game, Quando followed the common tradition of tapping in with local affiliates whenever you're in their city. Quando is connected with a Crip set in LA, so naturally he reached out to let them know he was there. Who he tapped in with exactly isn't clear, but it's pretty typical to connect with your own set for safety, especially if you're known in the streets. But things took a dark turn after this. Not long after he tapped in, OTF and Lil Durk's crew allegedly had not only Quando's location, but also where he was staying and all the details of his itinerary. Now it's still up in the air how OTF got this information so quickly. Was it just a coincidence, or did someone leak the info? Either way, as soon as Quando landed, it seemed like OTF was suddenly aware of his every move. After learning Quando's whereabouts, it's said that Durk's people moved fast. Flights, rental cars, private jets, everything was booked urgently as OTF members rushed to LA. The urgency wasn't random either. Reports say that a bounty had been placed on Quando's head, allegedly by a co-conspirator 1, the main person financing this operation. Many speculate that co-conspirator 1 is actually Lil Durk, given his high rank and resources in OTF. It's his label, his credit cards that were reportedly used for booking all of this. Flights, hotels, rental cars. The setup seemed all too organized, with multiple people involved in what looks like a revenge mission.
Somebody who's a boss within the OTF organization that could call that could put money up and also promise music opportunities. Aiming at someone who would be Durk or could be Durk's brother who passed. But the only person living would be Durk. It could be Durk.
Once OTF landed in LA, they moved like clockwork. They got what they needed. Cars, hotels, ski masks, firearms. They even communicated using coded messages to avoid suspicion. Eventually, they all gathered near Quando's hotel, knowing his entire schedule, even when and where he'd be heading next. On the day of the ambush, Quando was driving a black Escalade with OTF members tailing him in a white BMW. They tracked him discreetly, trailing his every move. It's said that Quando wasn't even aware he was being followed. When they finally caught up with him at a gas station, they wasted no time. OTF's crew parked nearby, hopped out, and began firing. The tragic part is, Quando himself was inside the vehicle, but his cousin, Lil Pob, was outside when the shots rang out. Pob was hit, but Quando was fortunate enough to make it through unharmed. However, their actual target, Quando, escaped without a scratch, while his cousin didn't survive.
Shots fired, a fight taken to the streets, and this chaotic scene, the ending of a shooting that started in Los Angeles, California. Sheriff's deputies pulling out a man who had been shot in an SUV. Savannah rapper Quando Rondo, a passenger in that car, frantic at the sight.
Let us know what you think in the comments below, and we'll catch you in the next video.